know, my mom was originally on The Real Housewives of Atlanta, so I've been featured on Bravo a few times, but this is my first time being the main character.
This isn't just drama. This is a truth so big, it breaks everything you thought you knew. About family, about love, about Kandi and Riley Burruss. For years, fans saw a picture-perfect bond. A mother who worked hard, a daughter who stayed quiet, a family that looked strong on the outside. But that picture? It's cracking now. And what's behind it is something no one was ready for. Riley Burruss just broke the silence. And what she shared has left the whole Bravo world shaken. I felt like I didn't matter. It started with a quiet live stream. No cameras, no glitz. Just Riley, raw, emotional, and ready to speak her truth. Her face was calm, but her voice shook a little at first. People think they know, she said, but they really don't. And honestly, I can't hold it in anymore. She wasn't angry. She wasn't yelling. But what she said next hit harder than any shouting ever could. Growing up, I didn't feel loved the way a child should. And just like that, everything changed. Let's back up. Kandi Burruss isn't just any mom. She's a Grammy-winning artist. A powerhouse on The Real Housewives of Atlanta. A businesswoman, mother, wife, and pop culture icon. She built a brand around strength and loyalty. On screen, she was the tough but loving mom who always put her family first. Fans admired her. Some even looked up to her like a role model. And Riley? She was always there, quiet, soft-spoken, never in the middle of the drama. People called her the sweet one, the calm one, Kandi's rock. But maybe Riley's silence wasn't strength. Maybe it was survival. He didn't hear me. In her live stream, Riley spoke gently, but each word was heavy. I know she worked hard. I know she was doing a lot. But sometimes I just needed my mom. Not the businesswoman. Not the celebrity. Just her. She talked about nights when she'd wait up for Kandi, hoping to eat dinner together. She'd be gone. Or too tired. Or busy. And I'd sit there with my food, pretending I wasn't hungry. This wasn't about money. It wasn't even about fame. It was about a daughter, slowly learning how to live without real love. She didn't hear me. Even when I was in front of her, trying to talk, I felt invisible. Dollar banknote, I felt like a paycheck. That's when Riley's tone changed. From sad to honest. Almost bitter. Sometimes I felt like I was just part of the image. A good daughter. Quiet, polite, easy to show off at events. But behind closed doors, I was just a paycheck. The words hung in the air. No one expected Riley Burruss to say something like that. Not about Kandi Burruss. Not in public. But she wasn't done. My college plans? They weren't even mine. Todd kept telling me what I should do. My mom backed him up. But did anyone ask me what I wanted? Fire Todd Tucker, the invisible wall. And now came the twist fans feared. Todd made me feel like a guest in my own home. Riley's voice didn't shake now. She was steady. He wasn't mean. Not exactly. But there were always little comments. Little looks. Like I didn't belong. Like I was a problem. She paused. You could see the memory in her eyes. It was like, every time I opened my mouth, I had to be careful. I didn't want to cause issues between them. I didn't want to be that daughter. She was walking on eggshells. In her own home. I remember once, I asked about a college visit, and he said something like, "Let's be real, Riley. You're not ready for that kind of school." She laughed softly, but it wasn't a happy laugh. That day, something in me shut down. Performing art's the cost of silence. For years, Riley stayed quiet. She smiled in photos, waved on camera, went to events. I acted like everything was fine. But it wasn't. I thought if I said something, I'd be the bad guy. I'd be an ungrateful child. The spoiled one. So I stayed quiet. I swallowed everything. But silence has a cost. And now, she was paying for it. Do you know what it feels like to grow up with people watching you, but not seeing you? Camera with flash, not for show anymore. Riley says she's not speaking up for attention. Not to hurt her mom. Not to drag the family name. I just want people to know the truth. Not the TV version. Not the edited clips. Just what it really felt like to grow up as her daughter. There was a long pause in the live stream. Then Riley looked straight into the camera. And if you're watching this, Mom, I'm not trying to destroy you. I'm just trying to find myself. Dove, the truth has wings. And with that, Riley's silence was gone. Years of pain. Bottled emotions. Sleepless nights. All spilled out in one quiet live stream. It wasn't loud. It wasn't violent. But it was real. And sometimes, reality is louder than anything else. Sometimes the loudest pain comes from silence. Riley Burruss didn't grow up in an ordinary house. She grew up in a house full of cameras, interviews, business meetings, and brand deals. Her mom was a star, always moving, always building, always working. And in the middle of all that, there was Riley, watching, waiting, wondering. "I used to sit at the kitchen table and just listen," she said. She was always on the phone. Her voice would change when she talked to the press or a client. But with me, it was short. Like I was another item on her to-do list. Crescent moon, the lonely kind of rich. From the outside, Riley had everything. A big house, stylish clothes, a famous last name, private school, vacations, pension. But on the inside, I didn't care about the trips. I didn't want the clothes. I just wanted her to sit down and eat with me. Ask me how my day was. Hug me and mean it. She remembered nights when the house was quiet, not because it was peaceful, but because no one was really there. She would come home late, and I'd pretend to be asleep, because if she came in and I was awake, she might say something quick. But if I looked sad, tired, she'd just get annoyed. I got really good at pretending. Pretending to be happy. Pretending not to care. Pretending she wasn't slowly being erased. Teddy bear, a memory she never told. Riley shared a story she had never told publicly before. I was about 9 or 10. I had this school play. I was nervous but excited. I was playing with a tree. Nothing special, but I practiced my one line all week. Her smile faded as she remembered the day. She didn't come. She said she had a meeting. She sent my aunt instead. I stood on stage, looked into the crowd, and didn't see her. It sounds small, a missed school event. But to a child, it broke something in me. That was the moment I stopped expecting her to show up. And once you stop expecting love, the heartbreak stops too. At least, that's what Riley told herself. Television, the camera was always on. Growing up in the public eye was its own kind of prison. People online would say I was lucky, that I had it all. But they didn't know what it felt like to smile for a picture when your heart is cold. She remembered filming scenes for Real Housewives of Atlanta, being told to sit in the background while her mom argued, laughed, or hosted friends. They wanted me to look like the quiet daughter. The good one. But inside I was screaming. She never caused drama. Never cried on camera. Never talked back. Because she knew, the cameras only liked you when you followed the script. Broken heart, a house that didn't feel like home. When Todd Tucker entered their lives, Riley hoped maybe things would get better. That maybe a stepfather meant more love, more attention, a bigger family. But instead, he didn't hate me. He just never really accepted me. She shared how small things made her feel like a visitor, not a daughter. I'd try to cook breakfast and he'd say, "Why are you making a mess?" I'd leave my shoes by the door and he'd sigh like I was a problem. It wasn't about shouting. It was about presence, or the lack of it. My mom once told me to be nice to him, that he was doing his best. But no one ever asked if I was okay, if I felt safe, if I felt seen. Graduation cap, college dreams that weren't hers. As Riley got older, school became her escape. Books didn't judge. The papers didn't sigh. Classrooms didn't expect her to smile on cue. I wanted to go to New York. I dreamed of it. NYU was my goal. But when I brought it up, they laughed. Todd thought it was too far. Kandi said, "Let's be realistic." I was heartbroken. I worked hard. I got the grades. But suddenly it wasn't about what I wanted. It was about money. Control. She stayed in state. Quietly. Without a fight. Because she had learned. Fighting meant nothing when no one was really listening. Locked the day the lock turned. There was a moment Riley says she'll never forget. It was the first time I cried in front of my mom in years. They had argued. Something small that turned into something huge. Riley had said she felt like no one cared. That she was tired of feeling left out. Kandi had snapped back. "You don't know how hard I work. You think this life is easy?" Riley had whispered, "I didn't ask for this life." Her mom didn't respond. That night, Riley locked her door. And I realized, I wasn't trying to keep anyone out. I was trying to hold myself in. Brain, what silence teaches a child. When you stay quiet for too long, it becomes your voice. Riley didn't become silent because she was shy. She became silent because it was safer. I thought if I behaved, I'd be loved. If I smiled, they'd accept me. If I disappeared, maybe I'd finally be seen. She spent years shrinking herself to fit into someone else's idea of perfect. But the thing is, silence doesn't protect you. It just hides the damage. Speech balloon. Now the words won't stop. Today, Riley isn't the same quiet girl she used to be. She's still calm, still thoughtful. But now her words come from a place of power, not fear. I'm not saying this to destroy my mom. I still love her. But I had to choose, keep being the good daughter who never speaks, or finally become the woman I was meant to be. She chose the truth. And that truth, once buried deep, is now echoing across the internet. Not every scene you see on TV is fake. But not every moment is real either. For Riley Burruss, reality TV wasn't a stage. It was her home, her family, her childhood. And it hurts more than most people will ever understand. Video camera. The camera is always watching. I was maybe 7 when the cameras first came around, Riley said. At first, I didn't even understand what was happening. People would come into our house, set up lights, and tell us where to sit. She thought it was fun at first, like playing pretend. But as she got older, she realized this wasn't just a show. This was her life now. I didn't get to choose what people saw. The cameras captured what they wanted. The show told the story it wanted. And if I was quiet in an episode, people said I was boring or ungrateful. But that wasn't the real me. That was the edited version of me. Performing arts, the script you never see. Reality TV sells the idea of real life. But Riley says everything had to look a certain way. Perfect house. Perfect outfits. Perfect reactions. If I cried, I'd get told not to be dramatic. If I stayed quiet, I was called cold. I felt like I had no way to be myself. And then came the moments that really hurt. There were times I was upset, really upset, and the producers would ask me to talk about it on camera. But not for me. For the story. She remembers one scene where she had to sit on the couch with Kandi and talk about family bonding. We hadn't even spoken properly that week. But we sat there smiling, like everything was okay. And people believed it. But it wasn't okay. That was the moment I realized. This show isn't about healing families. It's about keeping ratings. Television being the good daughter. On The Real Housewives of Atlanta, Riley was often shown as calm, well-behaved, quiet. And for a long time, she tried to be just that. I didn't want to make my mom look bad. I didn't want to say the wrong thing. So I just kept playing my role. The quiet daughter. The supportive kid. The one who never caused trouble. But inside, I was struggling. I felt lost. Like I didn't have a space to feel anything real. She described how she would finish filming, go to her room, and cry into her pillow. No one saw that part, because that part wasn't good for TV. Black heart. The day she wanted to quit. Riley remembers one day during filming when everything broke down. I had a breakdown. A real one. I told my mom I didn't want to be on the show anymore. I didn't want to pretend. But her mom didn't take it well. She told me I was overreacting. That I needed to support the family. That this was helping our brand. That word stuck with her. Brand. That's when I knew I wasn't her daughter at that moment. I was part of her image. Speech balloon. Online hate, and no one to protect her. Being on TV meant Riley was also online, and people were watching her every move. I was just a kid, and I'd see grown adults online calling me names. Saying I looked mean. Or that I didn't appreciate my mom. And I couldn't say anything back. She asked her mom to stand up for her. Sometimes she did. Sometimes she didn't. But what hurt most was that it didn't seem to bother her as much as it bothered me. She learned to shut it out. To log off. To numb herself. But deep down, the comments stayed. It's weird. You can have thousands of followers and still feel invisible. Dressed up, but nowhere to be real. Riley says there were times she'd be dressed in designer clothes, posing for photos, but feeling like a stranger in her own skin. I used to look in the mirror and wonder if I'd ever be able to show people the real me. Everything looked beautiful on the outside. Red carpets, photoshoots, Bravo specials. But inside, I felt empty, like I was just floating through someone else's dream. She didn't feel like she belonged in her mom's world. She felt like a guest on a show she never auditioned for. Woman standing medium skin tone alone in a room full of people. There were moments when Riley would be surrounded by producers, assistants, makeup artists, and even family, and yet feel completely alone. I used to think if I disappeared, would anyone really notice? Or would they just recast me? The thought terrified her. It's one thing to be ignored by the world. It's another thing to be ignored by the people who say they love you. Unlocked, finding her voice again. Leaving for college gave Riley space to think. For the first time, the cameras weren't around. No one was scripting her day. No one was controlling her story. I started writing, journaling, thinking, remembering. And slowly the words came back. The ones she had buried, the truths she had locked away. I started asking myself, who am I without this show? Who am I without being Kandi's daughter? And for the first time, she had an answer. I'm Riley, and I have something to say. Microphone, why she's speaking now. People ask, why now? Why speak out after all this time? Because I finally realized silence wasn't keeping me safe. It was keeping me stuck. She doesn't want revenge. She doesn't want sympathy. She just wants to be real. And if that means people look at my mom differently, then that's on her. Not me. This isn't a story about destroying someone else. It's a story about finally choosing yourself, even when it means walking away from the people you once begged to see you. Riley Burruss didn't burn the house down. She just finally walked out of the room. Brain the moment she knew it was over. Riley says there wasn't one big moment. No final scream. No reality TV blowout. Just a slow, steady silence that got too heavy to carry. I realized I was begging people to love me the way I needed to, and they weren't listening. They weren't even trying. So, she stopped asking. I stopped explaining myself. I stopped proving I was worth it. I just let go. She says it didn't feel strong at first. It felt like breaking. But now, she knew it was coming. Envelope, did Kandi respond? After Riley's live stream went viral, fans wondered what her mom thought. Was she angry? Denying it all? She didn't reach out right away, Riley says. And honestly, I didn't expect her to. When they finally did speak, it wasn't some magical reunion. She told me I embarrassed her, that I made her look bad. But Riley stayed calm. I told her, I wasn't trying to hurt you. I was trying to heal me. And that's the difference. Speech ballooned, the comments, the support, the hate. The world had opinions, millions of them. Some people stood with Riley. Some attacked her, saying she was ungrateful. Some begged Kandi to apologize. Others called Riley a liar. I read the comments at first, but then I stopped. Because this story wasn't for them. It was for the little girl who waited at the dinner table. The teen who cried behind her bedroom door. The college student who shrank to fit into silence. It was for her. Sparkles becoming her own person. Riley isn't trying to be famous. She's not building a brand. She's just rebuilding herself, one truth at a time. I'm learning how to be without the label. Not Kandi's daughter. Not the quiet one. Just Riley. She's in therapy now. She writes more. She walks more. She's found a small circle of friends who love her for who she is, not where she came from. Some days I still feel broken, but I don't feel invisible anymore. And that matters more than anything. Graduation cap, if you're listening. She pauses before answering the last question. If your mom sees this, what do you want her to know? Riley's eyes don't tear up this time. She looks steady, grown. I want her to know. I never hated her. I just needed her. And I stopped waiting when I realized she wasn't coming. The beat. But I'm okay now. I'm building something real. Quiet, but real. Dove, a quiet ending that speaks loud. No dramatic goodbye. No explosive confrontation. Just a girl, now a woman, who chose her peace over performance. Riley Burruss didn't need to scream to be heard. She just had to stop whispering. And now that she's finally spoken, there's no turning back.